It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. We are live in Central Texas, presented by Slovacics, and we're stoked. We're stoked that you're here with us this morning. Big guest, Scott Mitchell, obviously former Detroit Lions quarterback and Utah quarterback and Utah analyst right now for their football radio broadcast. So we'll be talking to Scott Mitchell a little bit about a huge game this weekend, Cincinnati and Utah. I can tell you off the top, and I'll get into this a little bit, but we do have like some Big 12 breaking news in a sense, where I talked to my buddy Steve Bartle, who writes for the Salt Lake City Tribune, and I was curious. I'm trying to get a vibe, right, like on who's going to start a quarterback for Utah in this huge game, where, by the way, Cincinnati's star running back is not going to play, which is huge because Cincinnati, that running attack has been a big part of their production offensively. So their number one running back is on the shelf. But on the other side, there's a lot of questions about Devin Dampier. Will he be healthy? He's expected to play. And that's from my man Steve Bartle out in Salt Lake City. And Bartle's going to join us tomorrow to talk about that game in particular, and also the Big 12, BYU and Utah, that rivalry, and how it's almost like it's a copycat situation in college basketball. And I think that Utah is copycatting what BYU did. And I'm curious to see if Bartle agrees and what he thinks about that. And I say copycat because, you get the guy who is a former NBA assistant coach. And in this case, Alex Jensen, we're talking about basketball now, was a player under Rick Majerus at Utah. So you have an alum, and you have that NBA pipeline, hopefully, right? As far as your head coach is concerned. BYU has that with Kevin Young, and they've had great success. Can Utah equal that? Are they trying to? That's something that Bartle will definitely be able to speak on. But today we're talking with Scott Mitchell, and Scott Mitchell obviously brings a lot to the table. He's got his own radio show, I think on ESPN Radio in Salt Lake City. So we're going to chat with Scott about the upcoming game. A lot of questions, right, this morning that we are going to talk about, maybe try to answer a little bit. A big question off the jump tonight is Lamar Jackson returning to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I have some numbers here that I worked up because I was so curious this morning, right? Now, Lamar was out with a hamstring injury. He was injured in their Week 4 game against the Chiefs, and we haven't seen him since. So that's been 3 games that he has missed altogether. Now, hamstring injuries, as we know, are real tricky for players, especially players like Lamar who move around a lot. So it's understandable that Lamar Jackson would miss 3 games. Look, we don't know what's going on inside the training room. We don't know what's going on inside the facility, although some people think they do. And this is where I am moved to a little bit of frustration, because Mike Preston is a columnist for the Baltimore Sun, and he is a reputable columnist. He's somebody who I've read for a while. I've watched him. There's a Baltimore sports podcast that he does. He brings in a lot of really good intel. And I understand that when you're in the columnist position, right? And it's kind of almost unfair. I'm so fortunate to be sitting in this chair, and Scotty rides shotgun with me a lot. Like, he will sort of take the same approach because he's so knowledgeable as a sports fan. But like sports talk radio, this show every day, which is not sports talk radio, but you get the idea. We get to bring our columns to life. And honestly, I was a journalism minor at Richmond, and it was so hard that I just dropped it. So I graduated with a communications degree, but I took a ton of journalism classes. When I always tell people, like, you want to know, like, real journalism, I knew it was not for me when I couldn't get the address right for, a fictitious story where there was a home invasion. And if you miss the address where it happened by one digit, which is a big deal, right? Because now you got another house that's being invaded. If you get it right, which you have to, you've got the right house where the home invasion happened. But if you got it wrong in class, you got an F, and that was it. And I remember being like, what? Like, I just wrote this great story with all these details. No, you got that one detail wrong, you get an F. So I didn't necessarily, I flirted with that, right? And I was around it a lot. I do not consider myself a journalist. I'm curious. I love true crime documentaries, real sports documentaries. I love that. Why go watch a movie when I can watch something that really happened? Most of the time, that's just how I am compelled to watch stuff. So back to Mike Preston. Again, he is a credible writer, a journalist, with the Baltimore Sun. And he has said on the record recently on this Baltimore sports podcast, if I'm not mistaken, that, Lamar has tapped out. Like he said, Lamar has tapped out on the Baltimore Ravens. And it's quite possible that this could warrant a trade. My biggest issue with this Mike Preston piece of news, right? By the way, I used to work for a guy at the Sixers, great dude. His name's Michael Preston, and he actually worked in the Baltimore Ravens public relations department, but two different Mike Prestons. Very, very different. One's black, one's white. So, that makes it easy for you to start. But this Mike Preston, the columnist, says that Lamar is tapped out, and he doesn't really give any evidence as to why, or as to, he doesn't even, as far as I'm concerned, like he doesn't even have like blind sources, right? To me, that's pretty egregious. And I'm not saying like, he is an awful guy or an awful columnist. Like everybody does this stuff once in a while where you're like, I have a vibe as to what's going on in that building. And maybe he did hear something that he can't share at all, that if he were to say on the record, I heard from a source, maybe everybody would know who that source is. I don't know. I really try to stay open-minded with all this, but I learned a long time ago. I remember when I was working as a schlep for the NFL Today, and Jerry Glanville was one of the personalities, and we were working for Football Scouts, the War Room. We were contracted by CBS, and we would give those guys information that they could use, to get ready for games, because we were like in it. We were constantly following the NFL and writing previews for games and stuff. And I remember Glanville told me one time, like, there is one thing that you can say, or one thing you can't say, really, that is a complete indictment of a player, a team, a coach, whatever. And if you're going to say this, you better be for goddamn sure it's true, is that a player or a coach or a team has quit, right? You cannot say that. You cannot say that unless you absolutely know it to be true. So Mike Preston, like, I think you might be out of line here. And I'm sure you're way closer to that situation than I am. But, to say that Lamar Jackson has quit on his team strictly on vibe, after the dude has put together a great run in Baltimore, where my brother Michael is always like Lamb Jack this, Lamb Jack that. I think Mike created the nickname just to be a dipshit, but he likes that. He loves Mike loves Lamb Jack, and one of the reasons my brother is so taken to the guy is because Lamar Jackson has shown us nothing but being just a real good dude, to the media, to his teammates, a little different, right? But I'm holding out hope that Lamar Jackson is going to return tonight with a vengeance, and stick it up everybody's rear that is saying that he quit, right? That is saying that, he's bogus. He's no good. That he quit on his team. So right now I am going to say that my good friends from Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, right? See him right here too, right? I think Mike Preston needs Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, the columnist for the Baltimore Sun. Now, are you not familiar with Daniel Stark? Let me tell you about him, okay? Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, if you get in a wreck, okay, and you think that you're getting screwed by your insurance company, okay, Daniel Stark is there for you. They've taken care of me in the past, right? I feel like Mike Preston just got into a little bit of an accident here by making these claims, and he just might need some help. Because right now, if I'm the big bad insurance company, I ain't believing what this guy's selling. Okay. So he better get Daniel Stark involved. And if I get a note from Danny Daniel, who is the main guy over there at Daniel Stark, and he tells me to back off Mike Preston, I will. Okay. But until then, I disagree with the fact that Lamar may have quit on this team. And let's just talk a little bit about how badly the Ravens need Lamar. Because I was checking out some of these numbers, right? Lamar Jackson is the Baltimore Ravens, okay? With Jackson playing, the offense puts up about 28 points per game. Without him, they put up 16 points a game. Offensive yards, they also tell the story. With Jackson in, the Ravens have accumulated, right? This is all time. I looked this up. They've accumulated 41,402 yards over 107 games, okay? Without him, in the games he has not played, they have cobbled together in just 16 games, which, by the way, the dude's a quarterback. He plays his ass off. The best ability is availability, and he's usually available. Hasn't been for 3 games, and all of a sudden, the goddamn sky is falling. I apologize for my language this morning. Chris Visser is going to take me to task. But I'm impassioned about this, okay? And Chris does not co-sign on this language, just so everybody knows. Without Lamar, right, in just 16 games, 4,900 yards. That is like night and day. And it shows just how invested this Baltimore Ravens team is in Lamar Jackson. So it's funny to think, okay, well, maybe we trade Lamar. If you trade Lamar Jackson, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you've entered rebuild. You've started a rebuild. If you trade Lamar Jackson, you are telling me, right, and you're telling John Harbaugh that we are going to rebuild our team. Like, and who the hell wants to do that when you're a team that's constantly competing for an AFC title? The season is long. What's the? I mean, I apologize right now. What is the Ravens' record right now, Scotty? 2-5. They're 2-5 right now, right? Still, I mean, you got 10 games left. You have 10 games left. I'm not saying they're going to run the table and win them all, but you get back a healthy Lamar Jackson, and like, trust me, you've got Miami tonight. They're going to win that game. So now they're 3-5, and all of a sudden now you have 9 games left with Lamar Jackson at 100%, and then you're the team that sneaks in somehow gets in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden it's like all bets are off because now you got Lamar Jackson. So I would appreciate if columnists that are putting together stories or be going on podcasts and saying that Lamar Jackson has quit and tapped out, I would love for them to at least the next time just give us some context, right? And hamstrings, like, I gotta say, for a mobile quarterback with athletic ability and skills that we have almost never seen before at the position, like, that is a tricky situation physically. And we've never known Lamar Jackson to be this guy who is going to get up there, pound his chest and say this or that. It's just not who he is. So if you're looking for him to come out and make some grand statement like, I'm all in, I really am hurt, like, that's not who the guy is. So tonight, this is why the games are the best, guys, and why sports is the best. Tonight, the best reality show in the world plays out before us, right? Baltimore and Miami. Where is Lamar Jackson at? And guess what? The soundtrack to that is going to be my man Al Michaels. And you can't beat that. So I'll be ready for that game. We're ready for a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk college football. And God damn, there's so many coaching openings. It's broken through to the point where at one point this fall, I was freaked out by it and frustrated with it, right? Now I'm sort of like low-key, like excited and finding it scintillating, like, where the hell is everybody going to go? You know? We're going to talk about that when we come back. The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovakia.
With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Designed to elevate the off-road experience, enabling adventurers to conquer any terrain. For 50 years, you've trusted us on your toughest recoveries, to your most breathtaking destinations, and in countless unforgettable memories.
We offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at bizchair.com to transform your business.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit vivosun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
whypersonalloans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit personalloans.com today.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on the screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
I am obsessed with helping business owners increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. It's this amazing platform where people are looking for ideas, inspiration. They have a problem and they're actively looking for a solution.
Stability.
Was it A&M? Scotty's on that right now.
Scott Woodward.
Scott Woodward, good call. So we're about to talk. If you're deep inside like college football, you know Scott Woodward was the AD at A&M that hired Jimbo Fisher, and he was the AD at LSU that hired Brian Kelly. And now the powers that be. When I used to work in TV news, we would call these people lawmakers. Lawmakers are busy today. They're going over bills. Lawmakers are leaving. They're leaving session early today. Like, where are these guys going? Like, that whole deal. Lawmakers. Let me tell you something about lawmakers. Okay? That's a job. You ever go into one of those like houses? When I worked at KNOE in Louisiana, one of the last things I did was I went and sat in on a house session. First of all, snooze fest. Like snooze fest. It's a bunch of, look, there are some minorities and women in there, and we need to have more of them in there. But it is in Louisiana in particular, and I loved living in Louisiana, but you just look out into it's a sea of like older white guys kind of hanging. And I know they're trying to get the job done, and they're probably trying to do what's right by the state and their parish or whatever. But boy, the optics are moving alone. And I'll leave it at that. But some of those lawmakers are saying that it is not going to be up to Scott Woodward to hire the next college football head coach at LSU, which goes back to the story I told yesterday about, Pat McAfee donating money to West Virginia and then on the back end scratching his head and saying like, hey, wait a minute, should I have more say in like who we're picking up in the transfer portal? Because that's what's happening around the country. You now have like the bozos that used to give the $100 handshakes to the football players back in the day, like, great job, guys who just want to be a part of it. They're now hiring the head coaches right? And I'm not saying in the specific instance in LSU, these guys are bozos, but it is interesting how, you donate enough money. This has now become like you won an experience auction, right? Like you donate $1.5 million to the LSU football program, and you can tell us who our next wide receiver is going to be. It's like, what? But that's kind of where we are. So the LSU job, as we talk about coaching jobs and openings, remember, we have Scott Mitchell coming up here at the top of the hour, 11. Is that the top of the hour? Yeah, 11 a.m. Central Time. He's going to talk to us about Utah and Cincinnati and also his pro football career playing for the Lions. He is the Utes radio analyst and also has a radio show in Salt Lake. But the LSU coaching job is probably the top open gig in college football right now. And the reason being is because they're in the SEC. They have limitless resources, right? And it's a national championship platform. Like, you don't have to go too far back to see when LSU won a national championship. I mean, when I was in college at Richmond, my roommate, Steve Sorrells, my freshman year was from Baton Rouge. He was a center. And he was a badass. The guy basically is like, he's, another one of my buddies who's like, making boatloads of money while I'm sitting here every day grinding with you guys, which I'd rather grind, right? Right, Liz is here. Yeah, we'd rather grind. But no, Sorrells was the man. And I remember he talked about Jerry DiNardo, who was the coach of LSU at the time. Like Jerry, like having that job in the state of Louisiana, you are immediately the most popular / powerful guy in the state. And that's no BS. Okay. So this is a really not just a big hire for the school, but for the state. And I can't imagine you go anywhere else than Lane Kiffin. And I think that Lane Kiffin situation is like, what does Lane Kiffin want to do? Now, watching the Lane Kiffin documentary recently on ESPN, and I was talking to a buddy of mine from ESPN about this recently. And as somebody who's a sober guy, I can, and I don't know if Lane Kiffin works a program. Like, I have the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous back up there, and that gives you an idea how I keep it going. But it's different for everybody. Whatever Lane is doing, it's working. Like his I don't have to tell you guys, we all see it. The demeanor, the way he talks, how comfortable he is in his own skin, wearing life like a loose shirt. So this is a little inside baseball. Lane Kiffin is making decisions in a much different nature than he used to make them, which was, what's the next big hot job I can take on my way to the top? And the guy is wildly talented, was before he stopped drinking, right? Like even like the runs he had, I think at USC, we kind of gloss over the fact that they had half the scholarships available, and he still took them to like double-digit wins and began the following season ranked number 1 in the country. Like he has that in his DNA, period. And now he's working upstairs with a full deck. Like, let's just call it a royal flush, right? Like he was dealt cards that the good Lord did not deal me. And he is the guy. If I'm LSU, that's all I want. Now, the question is, will he go to LSU? Would he want to go somewhere else? The reason why Ole Miss, I think, remains appealing is because I don't think his daughter will have graduated after this year. And that is one of the biggest reasons he stayed at Ole Miss. And I think he has a bigger picture perspective now on life. Look, Lane Kiffin got started really early at this, right? Really early. And so him riding it out for another year or so at Ole Miss, knowing that he has the rest of his life to move around and make decisions that might maybe behoove him and his personal interests more so than his family and his daughter. His wife moved. He's getting so, and this again, I'm just going to say it. This is sobriety, guys, and working a program. He was divorced from his wife, and only God knows what happened in that situation, and Lane and his wife, right? But sounds kind of ugly. Lane stops drinking, just completely changes as a person. He reconnects with his daughter. His wife, who I don't know that they're together again yet, but his wife moves to Mississippi, right, where they're now all at Ole Miss together, like being a family, right? Like that stuff doesn't happen if Lane Kiffin doesn't make a major change in his life. So those types of changes in his life, I think, lead to different stakes decision-wise. So my first call is to Lane Kiffin if I'm LSU. Now I want to bring in college football psycho Scotty Swingler because Scotty has all kinds of ideas and graphics, and we are going to take it. We're going to check out. We're going to look at the Baylor coaching possibility here because I do want to preface this by saying Dave Aranda still has a job.
Yep.
And it is quite possible as we get ready to talk to Scott Mitchell in about 25 minutes that Dave Aranda does another Wayne Fonts impression where he wins like 3 of his last 4. And at the end of the year, we're like,
highly doubtful.
Hey, well, it's possible. That's all I'm saying. I want to throw that out there. This is Dave Aranda's job. I love Dave Aranda. And I need to say that because I feel that. And football's a tough business, man. Look at Scott. He's already quizzical. He's ready to go. All right. If Lane Kiffin is not on the table for LSU, where do you go if you're not Scott Woodward, if you're whoever is giving the most money and the lawmakers that I mentioned in Louisiana?
Yeah, let's look at a couple options here. I think you have to. I don't think they will. And I've been convinced of this by some others, including Paul Catalina at 365 Sports.
Mr. Catalina.
If I'm LSU, there's one person I'm calling if Lane doesn't want to come, and that's John Summerall at Tulane. He's already in state, remarkably good coach, runs an exciting offense, great in the portal. Like John Summerall at Tulane checks a lot of boxes. I think LSU thinks they're better than hiring a coach from Tulane. Another option, Coach O has said he wants to come back, and on ESPN radio yesterday said he would gladly go back to LSU, even to be a defensive line coach. I think you call Coach O if you get Kiffin and see if he'll come be your assistant head coach, defensive line coach. But I think you interview him and consider bringing him back as a head coach. The man won a national championship there. That would not be there's been a lot of schools in the Big 12, Central Florida, and West Virginia, bring back kind of your best head coach in school history.
Well, and one of the reasons is in the story I told yesterday, like if Rich Rod needs $2 million in 24 hours, he can come up with it.
And you know who can do that at LSU better than anybody is Coach O.
Yes.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So those would be the two I would think immediately. Do they talk to a James Franklin? I don't know. But I would think, Kiffin is your 1A candidate by a lot. And if I'm in charge, I'm interviewing Coach O to see how that feels, and I'm interviewing John Summerall.
What about any other big names? Because the Summerall thing, by the way, is, and I've been hearing this around like college football people, Summerall is maybe more likely than you even let on there because the Scott Woodward situation is always big game hunting.
Great point.
Right?
Great
big
point.
Game hunting, a ton of money. I do get a feeling that kind of taking that power away from him enables maybe a more thorough, thoughtful search of not just the next big name, right?
Yep.
A guy like Summerall.
Well, the Summerall would be great. By the way, I received a DM 2 days ago that Summerall would be really interested in the Baylor job if it opened up. He sees that as a cultural fit.
Was it John Summerall?
No, but it was someone who knows John Summerall.
Really?
It was.
And he would be interested in the Baylor job.
He has been overly involved with FCA everywhere he's been as a coach, cites that Christian faith thing is a very high value for him and would be very interested in Baylor from a cultural perspective. I mean, who knows from a football or what other offers he may have, but he is interested in Baylor. If LSU, here's one more name for you, and I don't think they're going to get him, but I think they're going to call him the home run if they can't get Kiffin. He's like Kiffin. He's younger than Kiffin, and he's arguably already had more success than Kiffin. Is Kenny Dillingham?
Yeah.
I don't think Kenny's ready to leave Arizona State. That's his school. I think he's very loyal. I think he's very sincere about that. But I think LSU is going to call him. I think you have to. And I think he would be a home run hire and a good fit if somehow they could convince him to come to Baton Rouge.
I got one more name for you.
Okay.
That's got Louisiana ties and is a long shot.
Yeah.
But the way things are going right now, dude, Willie Fritz is not a bad guy to call.
Yo.
That is, I mean, he had the bedrock of his success at Tulane was guys that left New Orleans to go somewhere else. And then he says, hey, why don't you come on back home? I know it didn't work out there. They come back. And you're working.
That is a really good call out.
Yeah.
I don't know if Fritz wants to immediately take another job that quickly, but
and I don't know either.
But that's one of the 5 best jobs in the sport.
Yeah.
So,
let me be very clear. After I was giving a columnist a hard time, I have no reason to there's nothing on the inside. That is just something that, looking back from afar, that can make a little sense. Now, Willie would tell you, he's a little older.
Yep.
And if you look at his maturation, he doesn't take jobs and just bounce. I mean,
correct.
The guy was at the FBS level for 15 years, just absolutely kicking ass. So I would say it's probably unlikely, if you look at his history, that he would leave, but that could be somebody they call.
And it would be a good get. I mean, I think, and again, in my context, I do a Baylor show every week, so I'm thinking about Baylor constantly. My biggest thing for Baylor, if Baylor searches, is get a proven winner.
Yeah.
Don't take swings on someone who's not a proven winner as a head coach. And there are very few more proven winners in college football than Willie Fritz.
Yeah. I don't, let's take a look at your Baylor graphic. Just possibilities. Again, Dave Aranda is still the coach. Let's make that very, very clear. And they're getting set to play UCF this weekend. This is a critical game. I said it yesterday on Inside the 12. It's a critical game for the future of Baylor's program, I believe, because, if you're at home, the attendance will say a lot, and so will the performance.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Yeah, so I
hate doing this, by the way, but we're going to do it.
I'm gonna make these every week, and we don't have to do them on your show every week. I might do them on my show. I haven't decided, but I'm gonna have some power rankings every week. Power rankings being, this is who Scotty would hire, not who I think Baylor is necessarily going to hire, although I think there's quite a bit of overlap. Okay, here's what it looks like for me this week. Casey Keeler has come to the very top of my list. This guy was at Sam Houston State for over a decade, won a national championship, one of the very few coaches in America who can overcome the might of the Dakotas at the FCS level. And at Temple, already in year 1, they're saying he's easily the best coach they've had since Matt
Rule. Yeah.
The knock on Casey Keeler is going to be that he's older, to which I would respond and say, do you think Houston right now gives a rip about Willie Fritz's age? And do you think Indiana gives a rip about Curt Cignetti's age? Your age doesn't matter. If you can build a program and win, I think it's worth it. Casey Keeler was Joe Flacco's coach at Delaware. Built a powerhouse, carrying on what Fritz did at Sam Houston, is now killing it at Temple. And his career winning percentage, I believe in 25 or 26 years of being a head coach, he has 4 losing seasons.
So he's at the top of your list.
He is.
Okay.
And I think it's because, and I guess I am weighing a little bit what Mac likes to do. Proven head coach at the lower level. And we've already swung at Temple once, and it worked out. So it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, number 2 is Eric Morris. I shouldn't have to explain that. I think of all the group of 6 guys, especially with Texas ties, he makes the most sense. That offense is crazy this year. I think he's going to go to Oklahoma State, actually. If I had to guess where Eric Morris will be this time next year, I bet it's in Stillwater.
And he's a Mike Leach guy.
Correct. But 3 for me is Will Stein. I know that's going to be a trendy name for a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
But he was on Jeff Traylor's staff at UTSA, obviously calling one of the most dynamic offenses in college football at Oregon. Young Texas guy. I think that works. Brian Newberry. He's going to stay high for me. Played football at Baylor. Elite defensive coordinator for many years. Navy's head coach for the last 3 years. And
just a quick question about Newberry that I was thinking about yesterday that I didn't ask.
Yeah.
That's, for me, mentally, it's tough to break through to. We are in an environment where, that quick release, short passing game or 5 wide down the field passing game, that's Texas football. This guy's coming from a service academy. Now, you did a good job of touching on, hey, he's a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
So offensively,
correct.
Whatever he did at Navy he throws that's
I don't
gone.
think. Yeah, there's no way. And,
Yeah.
and I even got some text joking when I've suggested it. Bring the triple to Baylor. No,
Yeah.
that's not.
Okay.
He's gonna come here and he's gonna hire a Sean Bell. It would just be the immediate name I know, the passing game coordinator at Houston. He's gonna hire a spread, like you're saying, Texas style, spread him out and sling the ball around kind of coordinator. I have very little doubt about that. But I like him as a head coach. By the way, one of the criticisms of Dave Aranda's team, especially this year, lack of discipline, lack of fundamentals.
Yeah.
Getting a guy from a service academy who's defensive minded, those things will get cleaned up immediately. How some of the other recruiting and some other things play out, don't know.
Okay.
But would discipline immediately happen? Yes. And then fifth, and this surprised me, but I went through a lot of names. Pete, I wonder if it's not prudent to just give Keenan Hall a year. Give him a year. I say that because on 247 or 247sports.com, he is ranked as the best recruiter in the Big 12. He is largely credited as the primary reason Baylor is not only getting some of its best recruiting classes ever, but is particularly getting 4-star running backs now in every
How did they just
class.
get? I read something where they just got a 4-star to flip.
Rylan Morris
to come to Baylor.
Rylan Morris.
How the hell does that happen?
Well,
in this climate?
he already flipped once, so he was committed to Baylor. He flipped to Stanford. Now he's flipped back. I have a very cynical reason I think he flipped back.
Why? If you don't want to share, you don't have to.
You don't have to look far. There is a current player who plays his position who is publicly liking Instagram posts calling for Dave Aranda to get fired and whose father is tweeting about him transferring.
Is this Bryson Washington?
No.
Is it Dawson Prendergrass?
No. It's Caden
Knighton.
Caden Knighton. I don't think
It's
I'm
not
breaking.
Dave Aranda's fault that Caden Knighton has to take every carry.
Listen, I don't think I'm breaking news here.
100 level in the
it's
stadium.
public. It's on Instagram. Caden Knighton
Run
is
north
liking,
and south, Caden, before you start liking Instagram.
He's
posts
liking
about
Instagram
coaches getting
posts,
fired,
and
right?
his father is popping off on Twitter about transfer.
That's always healthy.
But anyway, Keenan Hall, man, I just think if you love what Aranda's doing off the field, if you love the recruiting class, if you really believe in the staff, and by the way, I think Baylor's got some excellent coaches on the staff. Dallas Baker, Paul Gonzalez. Like, these are great coaches. And it's a bit, we've talked, this cycle, this carousel is crazy. So I just wonder, especially if Baylor loses in 2 days.
Yeah.
Do you let Keenan Hall take the reins and see what happens? See if that play on the field suddenly corrects to what we think it can be. And if it doesn't, well, next year maybe you move on and you do a big search. But I like Keenan Hall, man. And I think it would be hard to convince the fan base that was a good hire, but my football recruiting program mind, knowing what the players think of him, knowing his reputation, the building, I'm like, it could work.
Hey, and by the way, Keenan Hall got major props. I told you guys watching Chad Powers that they have a house party at the coach's house, and one of his assistants is literally wearing a shirt
that exact
says,
shirt.
We pay players, and I showed it to Brett Ingram, Baylor's sports information czar, the man, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like, he was like, "I can't believe this." He got a huge kick out of it. All right, so are we ready for? Can Kevin Hall come right in now, or do you need a minute, Scotty?
Let me run like a couple breaks.
All right, we're going to run a couple breaks, and then we're going to get into our picks and see how everybody's doing. We're talking about the NFL. I already mentioned Lamjack back tonight. Big moment for him. And Kevin Hall is going to take us through some football games where we're going to keep picking. And Underdog, of course, presents all of this. Thank you, Underdog, for making this happen. Kevin Hall is here. We'll be right back.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble does bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, Kevin Hall is here, Scotty Swingler is here, and I'm Pete Sousa. And Underdog helps us out with this show. And in honor of Underdog, we make picks. Now, Underdog, and Scotty can get into more of the details because he uses it more so than I do, but I know his experience is always fruitful. That is more about, player stuff, and whether they're going to go over or under so many catches or baskets or whatever. But we love to make picks. And Kevin, let's go. Let's get into the picks this week. Thanks to Underdog. Right. You're here making this happen.
Yeah, we got to take a look at last week.
Please.
So last week, you both had the Chargers over the Vikings, and that happened in dominant fashion. You both had the Bills over the Panthers, and, that happened. The Bills came back from their break on fire. And then you both picked the Eagles over the Giants, and that happened, although there may have been some questionable calls around.
Whatever.
Can we have a moment for Kim Scatteroo? That was unfair.
Yeah, that sucked.
And then you both had the Broncos over the Cowboys because, of course, we all thought that the Cowboys' defense was a problem, and then we found out the offense was a problem too. And then, Pete, you had the Packers, and Scotty picked the Steelers.
Hey.
One definitive thing we've learned this NFL season is stop using yellow uniforms.
Dude, that was heinous, man.
Like the Chargers and the Steelers both tried it, and it was awful.
Yeah.
The helmets, I thought, looked like, like the hats that are like extra large on people. I felt like that's what the helmets looked like. They're just looked so big because of yellow. Okay, and then you both had the Chiefs over the Commanders, and even though they had their receivers back, they didn't want to give them the ball, so that happened as well. So on our show, on our picks, we shout people out if they got a perfect record, and somebody got a perfect record this week. It was Liam.
Oh.
But it was also Pete.
Yo!
Yeah.
That was a scary yelp, but okay.
I'm 27-21 on the season. Liam's 29-19, and you guys are now tied with that comeback week. 14-11 for Pete and Scotty. So let's get into this week's picks, starting with tonight's matchup. Two teams just coming off of their second win of the season. The Ravens at the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson coming back. What do you think? Let's start with the winner, Pete.
I like Baltimore big in this game. I think we're going to all be reminded. I talked about it off the top. You could rewind if you haven't heard it. Lamar Jackson's coming back, and he's coming back big time tonight.
All right, Scotty.
Ditto, Baltimore big.
Okay.
All right. And then the Falcons still can't decide who they are, but the Patriots making a run. So the Falcons at the Patriots at that time of year in New England. Scotty, who you got?
I think the Patriots are quietly the story of the year in the NFL. Mike Vrabel, worst mistake that the state of Tennessee's ever made, letting him go. I think New England wins this one soundly.
Scotty off the Falcons train.
I am.
Petey.
I'm going with the Patriots, too. I think it's a really cool story. And I just think you mentioned it, Kev, the weather, the everything. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then we have the Panthers surprising at the Packers. Who's going to make this one happen? By the way, the Packers in their 1923, where they have the leather helmet painted on the helmet. At least the uniform looks good. Petey, who you got?
Well, now that you tell me the Packers are wearing leather helmets, no, I'm going with Green Bay for sure. Yeah.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, Jordan Love just played the best game of his career, and I just want to know what the Guardian cap is going to look like on top of those leather painted helmets. Give me the Packers.
I saw one. It looks exactly like a leather helmet. It's surprising. And then we got the Broncos at Houston. Houston starting to streak, but Broncos not. It's not letting up. This is the two best defenses I think in the NFL against each other. Scotty, your turn.
I love D'Amico Ryans. Houston had a nice comeback last week. I wish I could pick them, but I think Denver's the best roster in the NFL and top 3 head coach in the NFL, Denver.
And it's your Super Bowl pick.
That's right.
Pete?
Let's go Texans. I'm going. My buddy John Tobias with Strength in Numbers. They visited the Texans headquarters this week. He said they were amazing to him. Look up Strength in Numbers. They do great stuff. I'm going with the Texans because I'm pretty excited to see what's going on right now back under center for Houston. So let's rock and roll. Come on, Stroud.
Awesome. That's great. You said a bad word. We don't say that. We only say Houston on our
I know. That's right. That's right.
Team from Texas, from Houston. So then you have the Vikings at the Lions. Who's going to be at the top of the NFC North, Pete?
I like the Lions.
Yeah, I like the Lions a lot. I think Minnesota is in a bad way right now. Yeah, I've never believed in J.J. McCarthy, and I believe in him even less after seeing him play in the NFL so far. Give me the Lions big, yeah.
All right. And then the game of the week probably, although maybe not, the battle for the AFC question mark anymore is the Chiefs at the Bills. Where are we at starting? It's Scotty.
Listen, we have precedence for this. This is not a playoff game. It's a regular season game. So Buffalo's probably going to win by 2 touchdowns. If they meet in the postseason, Kansas City will win a close one. But I'll take Buffalo since it is in Buffalo and regular season game.
I like the Chiefs. I think Buffalo is still missing something-ish. I like Kansas City. I feel like they're going up, and Buffalo's kind of stalling out, trying to figure some things out.
All right. So I have an extra point for you because, as I talk about, we don't pick the Colts games in our podcast because we do that in our prediction show, which will air tomorrow when we talk about the Steelers and the Colts. I hate the Steelers, and you'll have to tune into our show to find out exactly why and all of the interesting things. But before we get there, speaking of the Chiefs and the Colts crossover, there is a certain person who has a podcast, and
Sophie.
Yes, Sophie Cunningham. And the WNBA CBA expires tomorrow, so she may need to lean into this podcast. So I'm going to open up an invitation to her because in a recent episode, she referred to we for both the Chiefs that she grew up with and the Colts that she's been to some games and now claims as we in her. So you need to make a choice, and we invite you onto our podcast or Pete's podcast, wherever you want to go. You and Wes can come on here, and we'll preview the episode before it happens because we don't like any bad blood of, I won, you won. Let's talk about it, X's and O's on either Pete's show or our show. Sophie, West, you're invited. There you go. So, with all that said, it's time for you guys to pick the Colts and Steelers game. We're starting with Pete.
Steelers, bounce back. Let's go.
All right. They've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, I know.
So, although the Colts did beat both the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers last season with Anthony Richardson at quarterback.
Hey.
Scotty.
Wow.
I want you to know I'm going to be so mad at you, Kevin, if I'm wrong. Let's go Colts. Let's see it. I need to get more of a lead on Pete, and I think I would have. I was leaning Pittsburgh a little bit, but you've been trying to get me to pick the Colts for 4 weeks. So, and I want to say, Kevin, if we're not allowed to have multiple teams in life, then I'm off the Indiana Hoosiers. I will always be loyal to my Baylor Bears. I guess I'll have to return that football school IU shirt that I bought. So if you get so fired up about someone supporting 2 different teams, I'm off the Indiana train, Pete.
You do notice I am wearing a Houston Oilers hat because the Houston Oilers no longer exist, and that's why we refer to the other team from Houston.
All right, we'll get you. Do you have anything else, Kevin?
No.
Okay, because we've got Scott Mitchell, and if Scott Mitchell is ready, we are ready to roll into the big quarterback right now, who's going to set us up for Utah, Cincinnati. And also, I'm curious to talk to Scott because he's been a guy who I followed my entire life, and he's with us today. You're at your home in St. George. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's sunny St. George, southern Utah. Moved here about 2.5 months ago. So.
How's it going?
Really good. I'm super happy here. It's a beautiful part of the country. And of course, I'm still in the great state of Utah, so not too far from the kids and all that stuff, but far enough away. We have people coming and visiting us all the time. It's a great place to come.
And you're on every day in Salt Lake City, ESPN radio, and of course, you're the analyst for the Utes football team, which is this year probably a very fruitful endeavor for you. Just to start off with Utah and Cincinnati, I was just messaging with Steve Bartle from the Salt Lake City Tribune, and I was like, hey, give me a feel. What are you hearing about, because people like you and him know better than me as to Devin Dampier's availability. He says that Devin Dampier, he expects him to start in that game. How important is it that Devin Dampier is the starter in that game on Saturday with ESPN College Game Day, all the bells and whistles? Not that that matters, but to Utah's chances of winning.
Well, I may be a little controversial here, but I've said publicly all week long, I hope they start Bird Ficklin. He was extremely impressive last week. As I've looked through like Utah's chances of getting to the Big 12 championship game, it's very slim. A lot of things have to happen. There are 4 teams that basically have to lose a lot of games, and it's improbable to have happen. Now, in my dream world, I would love to have BYU and Utah there, and there is a scenario where that could happen, and I would pray for that. That would just be incredible, but the likelihood is not. And so if you're not going to get to the championship game, you're already bowl eligible. Find out what this young kid can do. He's extremely talented. He's a better thrower than Dampier is. And he's really, I think, the future of your program, or not. I mean, because Utah's probably going to have a choice at the end of the season about someone's going to snatch up Bird Ficklin if Utah doesn't. I mean, he's really that good. And so I would say let him play the rest of this year, work out that kind of freshman, highs and lows you get, and then you go into next season with a very seasoned, very ready player for the next 2 or 3 years. I believe the ceiling for Devin Dampier is where it is, and if Devin Dampier cannot run in a game, then it's not good. And that's what happened in the Texas Tech game. That's what happened in the BYU game. and the woes or the fortunes of Utah football really rest in the hands of the quarterback. And we've seen that over the last really 6 years. Cam Rising, when he was healthy, was unbelievable. When he wasn't healthy, Utah was horrible. Now they've found a quarterback, Dampier, when he's healthy, he's good, but when he's not, it's an ugly thing. And I think Bird Ficklin has a better ability to throw the football. There's more balance there than I think you get with Dampier. So I'm personally hoping, I know it's a long-winded answer.
It's a great answer though.
But I'm really hoping that they play Bird. And now Jason Beck has a relationship with Devin Dampier, but who really has a relationship in college football today? I mean, it's really about, there are no loyalties on both sides of it. So I think if you're looking out for the program and the best interest, in my opinion, you start Bird Ficklin.
This is one of the many things about you that I really like and respect, is that you're not afraid to just tell the truth, even though it might ruffle some feathers, because that kind of grabs me. I'm like, wow. Because Dampier has been the guy who has sort of been presented to us all year long as this is the answer for Utah football. But in that Texas Tech game, he was very limited. And then we find out afterwards that he was hurt, maybe a little more so than we had thought at all. What do you make of Kyle Whittingham and some of those, the rascal in him playing with some of those injury report, some of those games he plays? How do you feel about that? As a broadcaster, I'm lucky enough to call games play-by-play, and I've never gotten burnt by this, but I've heard a couple guys who've been like, we were ready. We were told that this guy was starting, and then this guy marches out after the opening kickoff. What do you make of some of the chicanery that goes on there?
Yeah, Kyle Whittingham is probably the master of gamesmanship. As it relates to situations like this, and holding his cards close to his vest. And, I was going to be really fascinated to see how he handled the league requiring him to divulge what player availability is. And I think he probably looks at it as it's up to interpretation, right? It's like, well, questionable. What does questionable mean? Well, probable means, doesn't mean definitive, and so it's kind of that lawyerly term, or, yeah, probably he was going to play, but, he didn't. I think he's still trying to push the envelope with that as far as he possibly can. He's very adamant, and has been from the very beginning, that I don't really want to divulge information about my team if I don't have to. I know what it's like to have to prepare for a certain player, and then that player doesn't show up, and that is a problem. If he's required to do it, I think he will. He may be questioned on this. He may be pushed by the league to maybe get a better understanding of the definition of what questionable, what all of the different things mean. Typically, I know, like, it's a big deal in the NFL. I know, like, when a guy is probable, he doesn't just get scratched on game day. It probably means he's going to play, means he's probably going to play, unless, he gets struck by lightning on his way to the game that day. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe some clarification that happens with the league, and because I think it's a little vague right now at Utah.
What is the vibe around the Utah football program right now heading into this game? I know a lot of people were surprised, because it is a huge celebration of the school and the football program, that ESPN College Game Day is going to be there, a month and a half after, Fox Big Noon Kickoff was there. It's a good time to be a Utah Ute, especially when you look in the rear view and see that last year, the injuries, Kyle Whittingham was handcuffed all year long. Now it really feels like this program is thriving, and it's got to be a cool time.
Yeah, Game Day showed up several times in the past, and it hasn't gone well for the most part for Utah. A lot of fans will feel like it's similar to the jinx of being put on the cover of Sports Illustrated, or the Madden curse, or whatever. It feels like that for Utah fans. And, for me, I look at it as Kyle Whittingham's done a tremendous job here at the University of Utah. And I think there's respect for him and the program around the country. I think they feel like Utah might be a little bit better team than the 2 losses that they've had. This is a very, very important game for the conference. Cincinnati also has respect. It's a program that's, been to the college football playoffs before. They've done well. They've had great years in the past. And so, it should be an incredible game. There's just a great atmosphere at Rice-Eccles Stadium, especially at night. These fans can get really excited. So if you'd have asked me at the beginning of the year and said, okay, which game on your schedule is game day going to show up on, this would probably be the last one I would pick. and so I don't know how they determine these things. I just know that they're here, and really, what you want to do, because you don't know what the future of college football is, and you want to put, so, is it going to shrink? And Utah is a program that's really elevated its status with the Pac-12 and all of that, but they've kind of stumbled in the Big 12, and so you want, when the nation's watching, you want to put forth your best effort. You want to show out. You want to create a perception. Hey, we're a program to be reckoned with, and you don't get these national opportunities every day here. So I think there's a lot of pressure, or there's a lot of at least for me, like, you need to relish this moment and really make the most of it, so that the nation says, hey, Utah is a good program and something that we want to consider as we move forward with the changing landscape of college football.
Well, you go back to 1988 when I was a kid, right? The nation was in agreement that you were a great college football quarterback, right? And you were a great quarterback in the NFL. But like, how much different was it back in 1988 playing at Utah, right? Because you were right there. I mean, you look at the record books. I mean, you're setting records. You're leading the nation in touchdowns, in yards thrown for, and I think the year after that, you're right with Ware and Detmer. I mean, that's like rare air as far as throwing the football. How much different was the spotlight on Utah when you were playing as compared to now?
Well, I'm 4 conferences ago, when I played at Utah, and a lot of the yards came out of desperation. It was a crazy conference. We threw the ball, 50 times a game was not unheard of. We had an amazing offense. There are things that we did with formations and creativity that were laughed at the time, and now they're commonplace. So we had a pro style offense. I was in my whole career, both college and professional, I was really blessed to be in some amazing systems with some incredible coaches.
Innovative systems.
Oh yeah. Tom Moore, when I was in Detroit, it was kind of the beginning of Tom Moore. Tom Moore is still coaching. Yeah. Of course, he coached Peyton Manning, and he went all the way to back to Terry Bradshaw, and he's still with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, still running the same stuff that we ran in Detroit. So I've been very fortunate that way. And quite frankly, it's hard for me to watch some of college football because, and for some reason, they think the players can't get it these days. They can't get complicated systems. They can't, for some reason, read a defense or read, route combinations. And it's like, yeah, I coached high school football. I taught high school kids how to do stuff I was doing in the pros. And so it's hard for me to come back to Utah and watch defensive-minded coaches have the reins on everything. And I love Kyle. I love Kalani Sitake at BYU, but the days of the pass-happy Western Conference are gone. And it's sad to me because it was great football to watch, but it is very different now. Now the program's done incredible. I mean, it's incredible what's happened with the program at the University of Utah, and Kyle Whittingham has been a massive part of making that leap and transformation into a program that has some respect across the country.
When you talk about, I love how you mentioned, hey, we'd love to play BYU in the Big 12 championship. Just how impressive has BYU been to you this year? Seeing Bear Bachmeier up close and personal, a true freshman, as someone like you, again, an elite quarterback, what impressed you about him in, I guess now he's in the brightest of spotlights. I thought that was a signature win last week to come back on the road against Iowa State. I mean, obviously the great program that BYU is, no offense to you, but facilitates some of this, right? Like, but what is so special about this kid? How is he doing all this?
Well, first of all, he looks like Tim Tebow who can throw the football, right? He's got kind of that bigger linebacker, but he throws the ball very well and much better than Tim Tebow ever did. But there's a lot of the same thing where it's this whole idea of, he's just a winner. He's a kid that finds ways to win football games. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't seem to be affected by any circumstance, whether he's on the road, whether they're down, whether they're winning, and he just finds ways to win football games. He doesn't beat himself. He plays hard, and he in no moment has been too big for him. I mean, I thought, oh man, he'll get in this rivalry game and he'll feel the pressure of this, and something will happen. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to show that he's a freshman, and never at one point has this kid shown, okay, I'm a freshman. I know he's had. We all make mistakes. We all, throw interception, whatever. But the demeanor, the confidence, the way he's performed has just been incredible. I mean, he, winning that game against Utah. I mean, he kind of put it on his shoulders, and and he did it. And the same thing with their win against Iowa State. I mean, just amazingly impressive. And what it is to me, it's talent. And when talent gets on the field, it just shows up, and regardless of experience, and when you have the talent, the moment isn't too big for you, but when you don't, it just always seems like a struggle. You just can't seem to find the ability to do it. And it'll be interesting and fascinating to watch to see how he grows and matures as he gets older in the program. But to BYU's credit, they started him, and they saw something and they said, we're going with this young kid. And it was a bold move, and it's certainly paid off well for the Cougars.
As someone who, obviously has a huge rivalry with BYU, what are your thoughts about Kalani Sitake? I mean, even last year, it was a team that surprised everyone, right? With Jake Retzloff. And now here they are again, surprising everyone. Like at some point, it's no longer a surprise. This guy can coach his ass off, and this is a really good football program.
No, I'm just been extremely impressed with Kalani. I think he has one of the tougher coaching jobs in the country. In some regards, it's like coaching at a military school. There are limitations, and the honor code and the expectation for students at BYU is different, and it's not like anywhere in the country. And it's hard to attract players to come to that program. It's even harder when BYU was independent. Like, to me, that would just be the worst place in the world to want to coach. And your schedule's really weird, and you have really good teams, you have really bad teams, and at the end of the all, no one cares. You don't have a conference championship, and he weathered through that, but he also made some tough decisions. I mean, Ty Detmer, who is probably the most revered player in BYU history, Kalani fired him, and I thought that was a tough move, and so Kalani's just done a tremendous job of navigating through these very difficult times. He's made tremendous tough decisions, and I think he's really grown as a coach. But I think the thing that I think that really helps Kalani the most, the BYU job is not for everyone, but it is for him, and he embraces. He's an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He played at BYU. He's an alumni. He really understands the value of that, and he's a good human being on top of everything. And he's really at the right place at the right time with the right people around him, and he's not afraid to bring people in. Jay Hill, very popular, could have possibly surpassed him in popularity. And some coaches are afraid to do that, afraid to bring someone in who might be better than. I know he has coaches that are former Utah players who coached with him, Gary Anderson and and they've coached together in a lot of situations, and Gary's helping him out. And so he's not afraid to bring people in. He's not afraid to make the tough decision. And he really knows how to sell and bring in the right people that work at BYU, which is just phenomenal. He's done an incredible job.
And Scott, you're doing an incredible job today. This is great. A couple more questions for you because I'm curious about your career because I watched just about all of it. I was actually, I'm look right here, no offense, right? Eagles fan, grew up in Philly. So I was at Veterans Stadium. Talk about an awkward situation for me. My girlfriend at the time when I was in high school, her dad was like, let's go to the Eagles game. And it was actually a great experience. It was Don Shula's record-breaking game in which I remember you got hurt. Peterson had to finish the game. But Shula breaks the record. And that's when, Scott Mitchell was really on my radar. What was your experience like in Miami? Because, from 30,000 feet, it's like, oh, that must have been amazing. He's Scott Mitchell, and now he's learning from Dan Marino and Don Shula. But there were some star-crossed moments there, too. What was your experience playing around those legends? And at the time, really, Miami was one of the perennial organizations in the NFL.
Yeah. First of all, my best experience in Philadelphia in Veterans Stadium is getting a cheesesteak after the game from one of the equipment guys. That's the highlight of I have not had a good experience in Philadelphia. Not a fan of that stadium. I'm not a fan of the fans. I've had family members who literally had to leave the stadium for the fear of their life. And I love the passion. I love that you all are crazy. I just haven't had good experiences in Philadelphia, but as far as
I
Miami,
apologize, by the way, for some of my I do, because some of that stuff is out of control.
Look, I've had former teammates who played for the Eagles, and they're like, man, it is hostile. They boo Santa Claus, and it's all good. Fans are great, but when you say it looked amazing from 30,000 feet and from 3 feet where I was so intimately intertwined in Miami. It was beyond that. It was, for 4 years, every single meeting I was in, I sat between Don Shula and Dan Marino. I literally sat between them, and to learn what I learned, and to just be a part of the conversation. And I was young. The first time I met Dan Marino, I was starstruck. I didn't even know how to talk to him. I didn't even know how to address, and he was my teammate, but I was like, this is Dan Marino. It was, and the same thing with Coach Shula. They were iconic in the moment when it wasn't like their careers ended. Like they were legendary living and playing. And it was just so invaluable. And I remember having a conversation with Jeff George, who was the first pick in the draft my year, and how I was so envious of Jeff George, that he was the first pick and he got to do all these things. And he kind of looked at me, he says, I was envious of you. You had someone who taught you how to play quarterback in the NFL. You had a great mentor. You had a great coach. You had someone who really helped you along in the process. And it's fascinating to me that to this day, I draw on, things that I learned from Coach Shula, from Dan Marino, and they apply just to my life in general. And it was just an incredible experience. Just watching Dan Marino throw a football every single day was a treat, and being around a legendary coach like Coach Shula was just beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And I value and cherish that time greatly. It was truly incredible.
What was one of the most significant things you mentioned that you carry with you today that you were able to glean from your time with Coach Shula?
With Coach Shula, he told me the things that I needed to hear, and it wasn't always what I wanted to hear. And so it was one of those things where, he wasn't afraid he set a standard. And his standard was excellence, and he held you to that standard every single day. And it was all, and he had the courage to do it. But then there was another thing that, I got there and I was kind of blown away by the simplicity of how everything was, because it's a very complicated game. and he was so much ingrained in fundamentals. And he's like, you are going to master this play. You're going to master playing the game of football. He says it's really simple. It boils down to who blocks better and who tackles better. And that's who wins the game. And it's not anything more than that. And he never varied from that. And if you hear players that played for Coach Shula in the 1970s, 80s, all the way through, if you went to practice on Wednesday, on October 12th, it would be the same practice every Wednesday for decades. And he was a master at staying with a process and never ever varying from that. And that's really, and it's hard to do. A lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people don't have the attention span or the willingness to stick to it like Coach Shula did.
If you could describe, and I'll wrap up with you like here in a minute or two. If you could describe your experience in Detroit with Wayne Fontes, how would you describe that?
It was hard in some ways because I think we really didn't fully realize the value of what we were or how good we were. I'm not sure Wayne Fontes really wanted me as his quarterback. And so there was always a little bit of that there. But we did a lot of great things in Detroit. For me personally, it was like, I just wish we would have had more time. I wish we'd have had more time with the group of people. And I think a lot of players who went there at that time kind of felt that way. It's like, why are you getting rid of this guy? Or why is this guy not being here? Why are we not staying with, and we had this record-setting offense with a certain system. Why are we getting rid of that offense? Why are we moving in a different direction? And I think that was the challenging part for me. Like, I've never seen a fan base more loyal and more passionate. And I was all in Detroit, and I lived there year round. I trained there. I was committed to winning a championship there, and I really just felt like we just didn't have enough time. But I'm proud of a lot of things that we did, and it was just but there were some tough moments for sure.
You guys were so much fun. I mean, you really were. Yourself, Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Chris Spielman. What was it like playing with a guy like Barry? What did you take away from that experience on the back end through the rest of your life? I mean, just mind-boggling his skill set, right?
Yeah, and when we were successful, is we kind of leaned into what Barry did well, because Barry, if not done right, could be kind of a liability in the sense that he was a home run hitter. He was a guy that he could run 80 yards and it would look amazing for a 3-yard loss. He wasn't a guy that was going to run inside the tackles, and he really ran best when you had people spread out. And so when we were just willing to kind of take what defenses gave us and not force Barry, put ourselves in formation and personnel groups that were the best that, I had Herman Moore, Brett Perriman, Johnny Morton, Dave Sloan was an all-pro tight end, and then Barry Sanders in the backfield. Like, that was potent, that was powerful, and done the right way, it sets records. And when we did it and guys were healthy, it was fun to watch. But just Barry didn't say hardly anything. In fact, I would have I would have hoped that he would have said more. He was very quiet, very unassuming, but very, Barry has great personality and immensely talented. I mean, there's a million Barry Sanders stories that I could tell you about, but I will just say I saw him make some of the best players who've ever played this game, and I can go through a list a mile deep of just some of the very best defensive players ever that he just made look silly. And some of the runs that he made were just jaw-dropping. And people, they used to get mad at me because I wouldn't carry out my run fake. I'd hand the ball off and I would watch Barry. I was like, "What? I don't want to miss this. This is amazing." I want to see what happens here, because you knew, and that was what was great with Barry. You knew something unbelievable, something you hadn't seen before was going to happen at any moment.
Scott Mitchell, man, thank you so much for the time. Folks can check him out. Check out his radio show, ESPN Radio in Salt Lake City. Down and Dirty, right?
The Down and Dirty, yes. Yeah, and that's the way we like to give it to you, just down and dirty.
Scott, you're the man, dude. I really appreciate it. It's always cool when somebody who you've kind of cared for a lot as a player and you know, because I was right in your sweet spot of your career. It's neat to meet you and know that you're such a good dude. So I really appreciate the time, man. And also people can check you out this week. I mean, if you're in the car, I do this sometimes. You know, you don't have to be in Salt Lake City. Put on Sirius Radio, pick up the Utes feed, and check out Scott Mitchell. And also he's on there with Bill Riley. It's good stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, Scott. Take care, man. There he goes, Scott Mitchell. Pretty cool, dude. That guy, I cared a lot about Scott Mitchell, probably too much because I was such a nutty football fan, but he was a guy who, you know, was the maestro of that record-breaking offense, and he walked us through all the toys that they had there. And, you know, for me, I never want to put somebody like that on the spot or get like negative, but I always wonder, like, if that team without Wayne Fonts, like how they would have been. Because Wayne was a loose cannon off the field a little bit. I heard some pretty wild stories from some people who work with him. But Scotty, we good? Okay, we're done, right? Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and we will come back after that. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at GEVI.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SOUSA to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SOUSA. That's SOUSA. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
All right, Pete Sousa Show. So glad to have you. Great stuff. Today on the show, multiple people. Scott Mitchell, Kevin Hall. It's been a good show. Hey, I did want to let you know I make my college football picks on Thursdays, and because Underdog's not just something we advertise, it's something I play all the time. And I've won some money this week. I've lost some money this week, but I'm still up. I think for the past 7 days, I took some big swings on college football. I normally just do 3 picks per submission. I did 6. But I think every single one of these is rock solid. Let me show you what I'm going with for college football this week. Avery Johnson, big game. Kansas State hosting Texas Tech, higher than half a rushing touchdown. That dude is money on the ground. I think he scores with his legs. Jaden Mayava, I hope I'm saying that right, USC quarterback. He's had a very good year kind of quietly in Lincoln Riley's offense, playing against Nebraska. Nebraska has shown you, again, some chinks in the armor. So I got him with higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. By the way, the last time he threw for less than 1.5 passing touchdowns was like September 7th. So I think that's a pretty safe pick there. Connor Wegman. They have unlocked that Houston offense the last 2 weeks. He's had almost 100 yards and then over 100 yards in the last 2 games on the ground. So I've got him with higher than 34.5 rushing yards against a not very good West Virginia team. Speaking of playing not very good teams, Jalen Daniels going up against the worst team in the Big 12, Oklahoma State. I have him with higher than 2.5 passing touchdowns this week. Fernando Mendoza, another guy who likes to use his legs and who needs to get in the thick of that Heisman race. They're playing a bad Maryland team, over 9.5 rushing yards. Come on, that's a gimme. And Sawyer Robertson, I don't know if Baylor's going to win or lose this game against UCF, but surely he throws for higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns.
I like that.
Pete, I did the flex pick on Underdog. That means if 4 of these 6 go,
call this up so I can see.
I get some of my money back. I won't make money, but I'll get some of my money back. If 5 of the 6 go, I double my money on this bet or on this pick.
Okay.
And if 6 of 6 go, I win a lot of money. And you can win a lot of money too, friends. Underdog, use the promo code Sousa, SOUSA. Pete, I think that's a pretty good submission on Underdog. I feel really good about this.
The only one that I don't like that I think you could lose is the Jaden.
Really?
USC at Nebraska. Yeah, it's at Nebraska. It'll be cold. It might not be totally conducive to him throwing a bunch of passing touchdowns. And we just got some breaking news while on the air through ESPN's Pete Thamel. Nebraska coach Matt Rule signed a 2-year contract extension this morning, which will take him through the 2032 season. It includes a $15 million buyout this year. So
let me take off my glasses. And
I don't know what that means for the future of Matt Rule. I still think he could go to Penn State, right? I mean, it's bonanza as far as all that stuff is concerned. Your quick thoughts on this before we get out of here.
Matt Rule has done this before in Waco, and it didn't stop him from leaving. This doesn't mean anything.
Boom.
He got a raise. Good for him. If Penn State decides they don't want to hire him, which, by the way, I honestly don't know why they would. To be honest with you,
yeah.
I like Matt Rule. I don't know why they'd hire him. He got a raise. If Penn State offers him this job, he's leaving.
Yeah,
he will.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I was told by the guy that I worked the West Virginia TCU game with last week for ESPN, Craig Halbert. I asked him about Matt Rule because Craig is he's like the high school, college football recruiting expert, and so he really is sourced up with all these coaches. And he knows a lot about all this stuff. And I asked him about Matt Rule, and he was just he's spinning his wheels at Nebraska now. Why would Penn State want him? And I was like, interesting, interesting. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk with Steve Bartle. By the way, I got, if you guys watch this show, I got a message from Coach Hansen And it was a great message. He's the best. So when I saw he called me, I slept in this morning. And so I saw he called me and I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. But it was the opposite. He loved our little tribute to him yesterday. So lots of love to the Richmond football family and Jeff Hansen. We will be back with you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Slovacics. Like and subscribe. Seriously, dude, we had an amazing conversation with Steve Lyons yesterday. We're going to post the Scott Mitchell interview. There's just so much good stuff on the Pete Sousa page. And we're thoughtful. We actually give a shit about sports and know how to cover it. I don't know why you would listen to some of the other bozos out there. That's my little piece of like this guy right there, Howard Stern behind me. I do have the competitive juices flowing. You know, I'm not a maniac, but I have an edge. And like, I don't understand why you will be listening, why you wouldn't be at least watching the clips to this show. So there you have it. I'm off my soapbox and I'll see you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.